Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Talk About It Tuesdays. And today I am thrilled to actually be talking to a very good friend of mine, Carl Kaitell. Carl, I'm going to pass over to you. You can explain a little bit about who you are. You've been in security, as far as I'm aware, forever. And so how you got into it, and then we'll get on to sort of what exciting things that you're doing now. So, yeah, how did it all begin? Where did you start your security journey?
Hi, Huda. Thanks for connecting with me. Yeah, no, it has been a long time. It feels forever. I've been in the industry for 23 years.
Wow, you got a lot
Um,
of Carl.
I started from the bottom, and I mean literally from the bottom. My father had a security company,
Okay.
and he asked if I was interested. And at that time, financially, I needed money. Then after a year, 2 years, I would then be given extra responsibility as a field manager, going to liaise
Yeah.
with clients, and then slowly but surely entered into management. I started my own business, worked alongside other businesses also,
Yeah.
purely from an operational um, area.
We talk a lot about professionalisation of the industry
Mm,
and where it's come from, what it used to be like. I mean, a lot of people constantly refer back to the fact that, for example, rates used to be higher, and they've actually, this is one of the only industries where it seems that rates have gone down over the
yeah.
last 10, 15 years, 20 years. Have you seen a difference in the way that people that you manage are, the levels of professionalism, how people, both on the operational side, for the people that work for you, how they see security and their role in that, and how clients see you as a service provider? Have you seen any change from back when you first started for your dad's company and now running your own business?
Good points. But there's some great points there. 10, 15 years ago, there was more of a camaraderie. It was more like a family. It
Okay.
was more um, operatives had more of a passion and more of a desire. I found there was more of a reliability. But years ago, people would, if they needed a service, security services, they would contact a contractor in order for their advice. Their, work them working as a consultant and advising them. Whereas these times now, it's pretty much, no, we need this, we need that. And if you was to try and steer or advise or warn in regards to what their inquiry is about, they would pretty much shut the door and say, no, right, okay, if you can't help me with what I want, I'll go elsewhere. He was wearing a vest like I saw at this, especially going down to this club. And this guy turned up. He must have been on PCP or Angel Dust, and he went nuts. And it took 4 guys to restrain him. And even while restraining him, now this guy wasn't a huge unit or anything like that, just a normal sort of medium-sized guy. But he was so strong, it was like the power of 10 men, right? Anyway, he went off, but he came back and he pulled out. He came back, but where it was so hot, the operations manager, the guy who was running this door, took his vest off, right? Thinking, oh, if this bloke comes back, he might come back, he might not. He was out of his face. But this guy did come back. And when he came back, this head doorman was on the front door with no vest. And he pulled out this huge machete, stabbed him from the stomach area all the way up his chest,
Oh my
and
God.
it missed. He obviously was in intensive care, went to hospital, and the doctors couldn't believe how the size of this machete missed vital organs. It was an absolute miracle. So that
Wow.
was a lesson learned, obviously, for him and to as a warning and as a teaching, regardless of the humility, regardless of what setting you're in, you should always, especially working on the front line, should always wear some sort of protective clothing, especially in the days that we're working in now, and you know, former attacks that we've experienced and that, you know, we've gone through. It's a
Because
must.
you've been, as part of your role on the front line, you've just explained some, you know, crazy incidents. But what is it that keeps us going back to our role on the door? You know, that's one side of it. What's the other side of
I
working
think
for
it's like,
security?
yeah, I think it's part of your life. It's part of who who you are. I mean, you build up friendships. Now, not forgetting, it's not just these guys and, like, you know, men, women. They're not just work colleagues. You put each other's life, you know, each other's lives are on the line, and obviously you working within teams to support each other and to look out for each other. It's that strong camaraderie, you know. It's that tight knit sort of team effort. So that's what you enjoy, right? As crazy as it might sound, facing or confronting, you know, hostile confrontations and whatever, you actually, when all is said and done, afterwards you have a laugh and a joke, and you think, wow, what about when that happened? What, you know, it's, in a weird way, it brings extra sort of a team bonding and gel between one another. Why am I still in it? Because I enjoy it. If the love of this, if the love within this industry was to go, I would hang up the gloves, so to speak.
Yeah.
That would be me. I'd be done, because there's too much at risk, and it's safety, safety, safety at all times. And the time you start getting complacent is the time you should be worried, and is the time you should step back, reassess, and think, well, this may be not for me no more.
And I think that is possibly a bit of an issue where this whole idea of professionalisation comes in, is that, do you think too many people that come into this role, as we said earlier, some people choose it as a career, are coming into security to create a career out of it, and some people are just doing it to make some extra cash on the side, whether it's because they're studying or they're working their way up in another career and they need the extra money and they've got the time. Do you think that too many people are complacent in relation to what the role being on the front line really means? And do you think that's why there's not enough professional attitude, because they don't take it seriously? They don't see it as, actually, you are the first point before any type of threat or attack. You know, do you think enough people to realise that and take that seriously? And if they did, do you think they would demand themselves better training and more training? Do you think that frontline officers are well equipped and well trained enough for actually the very real threats that you've explained, a couple that happened to you? We've now got even more types of threats that are happening, you know, at the moment, in terms of the terror attacks are becoming more frequent. You know, is there too much complacency on the front line?
Very, very good question. And without a doubt, there's so many men and women going to work working within this role that don't take that step back and do their own assessment. Right, okay, before I get to work, what can I remind myself? If this was to happen, or this scenario, I was confronted with this scenario, what should I do there? Look, people don't do their own little mini recce's. They don't do their own self-assessments. All these things are not considered. I'm not saying that all do not do that, but the majority of guys, you know, men and women, don't do that. They purely...
And does that come down to training? Is that
100%.
complacency? Is that lack of understanding about how important their role is and what the real risks are, or is that lack of training?
Well, there's 2 points. There's look, you go for a basic level 2 say you're working on the door, or anything to do with confrontation, you would do a level 2 SIA course. But then, like, it goes back to that point, doesn't it? A lot of companies don't then further your education, don't further your training, monitor your skill sets, what you could be useful for in this and that, or see what is lacking. So it's that point of view. So it's a lack of training, and it's a lack of desire. Well, there's no fire in there to be wanting to be seen as that excellent role model for within the industry, because they don't really want to be doing this role. They're just doing it purely for extra money.
I never, in all the time I was working as a door supervisor on nightclubs and events, I never wore a stab-proof vest. Do you think that certain equipment should be made compulsory, and that certain roles, they should be made to wear certain protective equipment?
Depends where you're deploying your personnel, your staff.
Yeah.
You might have high-end corporate, you might work with high-end corporate clients,
Yeah.
and it's not the right setting for someone to be standing at the entrance with a big resistant vest on. However, we all know that you can get slimline ones, but obviously the more slimline, the more cost and quality involved. But you can't be, forking out or issuing 20 members of your team getting the best of the best. So, but you have to wear.
See there. You can't, because why? Because it's too expensive. Because the margins don't cover the cost. So we need to actually bring that back a step and say, actually, do the clients need to recognise that they want a certain look and feel in their corporate environment, but actually safety should come first. Therefore, as part of the cost element, they should be paying for the uniform for their security, and if they want them to be the thin vest that looks good under their uniform, that should be something that is a given.
Well, exactly, Huda. And that's going back to one of the first questions that you raised. This is a key time to take the positives out of this dark, so-called negative time, for people to address these things in regards to rates, prices, and how much security should be valued and respected. So that issue you've just noted there, that is a key concern. Or you might have to have that knowledge of where the hospital is, where that police station is. Or someone might say, excuse me, do you know where I may find the local ATM? So I used to prod new starters on this basis and continue throughout them working at that site, that venue, check to make sure everything is current and everything's refreshed. So them key areas keep people.
So you're saying that security don't just perform a security role? They are basically information givers.
You're, as a security operative, I think a lot of people purely just see it as security, protecting the public, and monitoring anything which could have the likelihood of causing any problem, walking into that venue or site, or be a problem. No, it expands from that. You are that information desk. You are that person who smiles at the front door, or that person who you initially come in contact with. I could be having a bad day, a real bad day, and I come and see you and you say, how are you, Mr. Such and Such? And you even address me my full name, right? That's a sign of respect. And with that big smile, and just that person who's that glimmer of light, and maybe a couple of other things that you may mention, which I think, wow, that lady has just made my day. If you see a problem brewing, and it's a team, it's a group of guys that are very testosterone, full of testosterone and Jack the Lad, you can send some females in to just call things down, and just to spark off a little bit of banter or whatever, just to get them on a level. So females play an important role. On particular events that were held, we had like 4 females working within our team. Those women were a strong anchor, even down to the administration side. You know, some guys think, oh, do we have to do this? Do we have to fill in that? They would make sure they get that done. But purely on a frontline level, they would be the icebreakers. Can break the ice on many levels, even from a initial conference, from initial greeting, extending that to a problem brewing or something maybe happening.
Situations.
But then if I send in this 6'5" guy weighing 18 stone, straight away it's going to bring up barriers and there's going to be a big clash.
Yeah.
So what do? I use a professional lady to go in, assess the situation, obviously, but to treat the situation delicately using personal soft skills.
Carl, thank you very much for your input.